FF Wigs here today, bringing you yet again another video. We hope you guys have been enjoying the current mock draft 2 videos. In today's video, we are going to be covering the last few rounds and then a brief little recap here of what happened throughout the entire draft. And then tomorrow, expect a brand new video, brand new series that we hope you guys will enjoy. It was a lot of fun recording it yesterday when we did, so be prepared for that as I go through and edit that tonight and tomorrow morning. So, yeah, nonetheless, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all the fun stuff, and we'll see you in the next video.
Tight end. And then in this pick, we're getting a little bit deeper, and I think I think I got a couple different options here. I could go quarterback,
Could go Jerry
and
Judy.
get a backup. I could go another wide receiver, which, I'm always, you know, a big fan of doing. Um, I'm not necessarily set on always having four running backs. I'm comfortable with the three I have. So I'm so right now I'm kind of thinking, okay, I think I'm gonna go wide receiver. And so looking at my options, uh, I'm gonna go with Judy.
I like that
Again,
pick for that
it's a
late.
shot in the dark. Um, Obviously, he's got other receivers in Cleveland that he's going to be competing with. Uh, but I, I, I just I think there's a lot of upside with Judy. Uh, I'm very comfortable with that.
Let me ask you this here quick. Let's say Cole Kmet was off the board because looking at that team 11, the CPU that we have there, if they ended up taking Cole Kmet, which I think if it's a real person, I think Kmet's off the board before he gets to you, who would you have picked as like another option? Like, would it been another receiver or running back? Like, just gives
Had
people some
Komet
insight
not been
there.
there, I would have waited to taken a tight end, and I probably would have taken a receiver. Whether it would have been Judy or depending on if somebody else was out there. Let's say maybe Mike Williams was out there,
Yeah,
because in some I would have considered that. So that's kind of what I would have looked at that position. But with Komet being there and falling in that spot, I just felt like, especially given the fact that I drafted a rookie tight end earlier, which again I'm really high on Bowers. I don't want anybody to mistake me drafting Komet as an indication that I'm second guessing myself, because I'm not. Bowers will be my starter, but I feel like Komet would be a good bye week candidate to replace him. And if Bowers does stumble, I think Komet would definitely be a solid tight end to put in to replace him.
I think Kmet even in this spot would probably be your tight end one. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't have fields like he did last year, but Cole Kmet was kind of slept on last year, and like he was like top five, and he was having like an insane year. Almost, I think he had almost 1,000 yards, and he had a ton of touchdowns. Like he had a pretty solid year. So like getting him this late in any draft is kind of nuts to me. I could totally see people like dropping down earlier in the draft to pick him up as well, but
Well, and like we talked about before, the one thing I've always said with a rookie quarterback, he's got two friends, the running back
in the
and the
tight end,
tight
yep.
end.
So I think getting him when you did is like really good. I was even considering him with one of my two picks prior, but I just felt like I needed to lock down a running back and I couldn't pass up on Myers. But I was definitely considering him within those two. And I think if I had a third running back earlier, like if I would have taken Brian Robinson over Coleman, um, I would have taken Komet this round as well. So I really like that pick. Moving into this round here, for me at least, this is a little bit of a tougher spot because I'm not. one to typically like consider drafting a second quarterback in a draft. I usually don't actually take a second quarterback, but I'm in a spot right now where I have options because I have Kirk Cousins, I have Aaron Rodgers, and I have a few other people down further on the board, and I think I might actually be able to wait with me thinking about it. I might actually take a chance here on a player. This would be a major chance here. Just trying to think if that's the move I want to make here. Um, I don't think I don't know if I can pass up on Kirk Chains or Aaron Rodgers here. I was thinking maybe J.K. Dobbins, but he just never stays healthy. Maybe like strengthen up my depth there at running back, but I just like I said, he never stays healthy, so it's hard for me to be full-fledged with that. But I think because I think this offense is going to be nuts. I think they're going to be really good. I think they actually have potential to have three guys over 1,000 yards this year. I think I'm going to go Kirk Cousins here as my backup quarterback and possibly even my starter.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I think, I think Brock Purdy's going to have a good year. And I definitely think that Cousins is a great, bye week option. Uh, and so I don't disagree with that pick. So, um,
I was thinking maybe like I could get away with like a J.K. Dobbins, but then I'm like, I don't know. I potentially thought of maybe taking Joshua Palmer. Um, but again, I don't know there. Like I'm still considering Palmer for this spot, but I also feel like I need to strengthen my depth here a little bit at running back, or at least have a backup option. But I'm not liking any of my options here at running back. I wish I would have drafted one sooner. Um, but I think I have to take one here. Like I really think I have to, and I am gonna pull a U from the last draft. I'm gonna take someone um, who could be a good backup option to the said starter and could get a bulk of the carries if the starter does get hurt. And for that reason, I think I'm gonna take Ty Chandler. I think right now it's kind of safe. And like I said, if Aaron Jones were to get hurt, I think it's a pretty good option to have even at like a flex spot to have Ty Chandler because he showed last year that he does have potential to play really well in a role where he can get a lot of carries.
not a bad pick. Don't disagree. I'm going to go with running back at this position, and I am going to take Kamani Vidal from the Chargers. Uh, this is kind of a shot in the dark, and I think it's kind of dependent on how Edwards and Dobbins do for the Chargers. I just know that Harbaugh likes to run the ball, and he likes to mix up his running backs. So I'm gonna take a shot in the dark with him there, given how late we are in the draft. I feel comfortable with doing that, and I'm very comfortable with the running backs that I have right now. And then my last pick for this draft, again, I always like to have a backup quarterback. I know some people don't like to do that, but I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield.
Oh, interesting.
I think that Mayfield is uh, a good bye week replacement for Goff. And I also would feel comfortable with Mayfield if for some reason, Goff went down and putting him in there. I don't think Mayfield had a terrible year last year. So I fully anticipate Goff is going to stay healthy. So but I don't want to get stuck in the position where, I don't have a second quarterback on there just in case something
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah, for me, like I never was a fan of taking a backup quarterback. I kind of always like banked on my quarterback to stay healthy, and if he didn't, I was just gonna pick up someone and suffer. But um, after last year, seeing a lot of the injuries, I kind of felt like I had to take Cousins when I did. And I'm honestly kind of surprised he took Mayfield. I thought maybe you were gonna go with like a Will Levis possibly.
Well, I was thinking about it, and and I'm not totally sold on a running back where I picked. I know some people might have taken a shot on a maybe an Adam Thielen or something like that. But I also know that the running backs tend to drop like flies.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm okay with three running backs because I usually feel like I have options to potentially trade down the road if I need to. Um, so so I was kind of torn there, but I'm still comfortable with that pick. Just given the depth of my receiving core, having six receivers on the roster now makes me comfortable, especially at the flex spot. Having Komet too there, that gives me another flex option. So, um, you know, I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I was kind of surprised by the running back you took, but I could totally see why you took him because J.K. Dobbins never seems to stay healthy. So even if it was just the RB2 in J.K. Dobbins that got hurt, I could totally see that running back stepping into the passing game and being pretty used. And you never know with Gus Edwards either. He's been hurt a few times in his career as well. So like for all we know, your running back there in Vital could be the RB1 at some point in the season. So I don't hate the pick, and I think with your receiving core that you have, you'd be fine, especially with your starting three. Like your wide receiver one and two obviously are gonna have good years, and then Metcalf as your flex. That alone is kind of nuts to think about. And then you got Pacheco there as your running back. I kind of like the pick because you never know what happens throughout the year, and for all you know, kind of like what we saw last year with Williams, like Vital could just pop off and be a guy. For me here with my last pick, kind of on the fence between a few different things. I could take a backup tight end. I've been thinking of the Tennessee tight end. I can't say his name personally. Okunwo or however you say it. I've also even thought of along the lines of Jonu Smith, but the only reason I thought about that is because of his year last year. But looking at it, I don't know if I'd go that route because Tua really didn't utilize his tight ends a whole lot last year. And when he did, it was like never really. I didn't see a lot in the red zone because I had like a few of the guys there um, throughout the year last year, and I could never just get a grasp on that team. So I was thinking maybe I go tight end. But then I'm also like, this is what I do every year. I kind of just play the waiver wire for a tight end and hope I get one or hope my tight end and George Kittle stays healthy. So I think I'm personally going to chance it here. And I think I'm going to go Adam Thielen. Just give myself a little more depth there at wide receiver in case if you guys get hurt. And I think Thielen could possibly be a sleeper this year. He had over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards last year. With Deontay on the team now, he could have a little added relief, and he might even have more crucial touchdowns and more points on the board overall. Um, but could I have taken a tight end? Yeah, I was kind of hoping Likely would have dropped down to me. If Andrews got hurt, Likely shown he's been reliable, and I could see them using two tight ends a lot more this year with Likely. So you never know. I think they're set up pretty good there in Baltimore too. Having Derrick Henry, you could run a lot more two tight end setups because that could look like you're making a run play, but then you could change that around and kind of have it be favorable in your sense, if that makes any sort of sense, because they could just run a pass and boom, Likely or boom, Andrews.
Right. No, and I don't think Thielen was a bad pick there, so
Like I would have
um
liked a second tight end, but I think I would have had to have Likely drop down to
well,
me.
just a hot take, someone that I think might be overlooked this year is Conklin from the Jets. If
Yeah,
if
I was
Rodgers
thinking about him because Rodgers does
if
utilize his tight
Rodgers
ends.
stays healthy this year, Roger has a knack for using his
Yeah,
tight ends. So,
and Conklin,
um,
when he was in Minnesota, showed that he's a pretty good tight end. So with Rodgers, like I could definitely see him being good. I just would have to see it play out. I kind of would have to see if Adams got traded over to the Jets as well, type thing. Not that I think it'll happen, but
Right. Well, that's the draft. Just a couple thoughts on my end, in regards to my team, and then Wiggs, I'll let you jump in and stuff. I'll be honest with you. I know the CPU kind of they mix it up and stuff. I'm shocked that Garrett Wilson and Puka. I'll be honest. I'm shocked at multiple receivers that dropped down as far as they did. So I am, with this particular mock draft, I am ecstatic about uh my early round picks, not just with my receivers, but with my tight end and my running backs. I'm, I feel like this was a pretty solid draft for me. I'm not saying Wiggs that you didn't have a solid one. I think you had a solid draft too, but I'm really happy with the team that I drafted here. And to me, I think that if I had to point out one thing, I'm really surprised that Komet dropped down as low as he did. To your point, Wiggs. So I think I do think that he is being a little overlooked this year. I think compared to some of the other tight ends out there, that he's just as good, if not a better option, given the situation that the Bears are in with
yeah.
a rookie quarterback. So I was happy to be able, to get a backup tight end like him where I did. So with that, let me throw it over to you, Wiggs, and you can throw in any thoughts on your team.
Yeah, I'm with you on the same page of I'm surprised like players like Wilson and Puka did drop down. Like I could maybe see one of them, but for both of them to drop down, it's kind of surprising. Like the main thing I want to point out is Jahmyr Gibbs going at 11. I think if anything, he's a mid to late second round pick. More so on the late second round pick in my eyes at least. I could see the likes of McCaffrey going as early as he did. I think Brees Hall with the CPU was like probably two or three picks too early. I personally would have taken Jefferson or Chase before Brees Hall from a fantasy perspective. I could see an argument for Taylor in the first round, but maybe like, the 11-12 spot, not as early as he went. Um, the biggest one for me was Gibbs. Like, I think Williams would have been better than Gibbs. I think taking Wilson for sure is better than Gibbs. I would have had Wilson going probably at 9 and Puka probably at like 11. So I could have seen Taylor and Gibbs dropping down to 11, 12, or later in the second round, but it was a
Me
little
personally,
surprising.
yeah, me personally, I think that um, nothing against Jonathan Taylor, so don't take this the wrong way. I just think that Taylor being drafted at number 9 is too high. I think that uh, I think you're gonna get more from from some of the receivers that were passed up.
Yeah,
And I agree with you with Gibbs as well. So if there was two picks in the first round that I thought could have waited, it would be Taylor and Gibbs. I think that people are going to find out that they're going to get more bang for their buck
yeah.
with a receiver there instead of those. And again, that's just my opinion because, as I mentioned earlier, I value wide receivers a lot higher than running backs.
Well,
So
yeah, and you look at the receivers that were out on the board, you got to think like Garrett Wilson's going to be catching the ball 6 or 7 times a game, probably having a good 90 plus yards a game as well. Same with Puka. Like, I know we're drafting with the CPU, but there's got to be some sort of data mining that they do with sleepers. So, like, this has got to be somewhat relevant to what people are actually drafting, and it's kind of shocking to me to see it. Like you said, like
right,
Taylor and Gibbs definitely were drafted early. I still think Brees Hall was drafted just like a pick or two early. Like I definitely still think you take uh, Chase at least. I'm not 100% sold on Jefferson this year, but I could see an argument for both those guys being ahead of him. Maybe even St. Brown. But
no,
I
I
like
I, I hear you.
I like where Bijan was drafted. Taylor and Gibbs definitely needed to drop. I think looking at it right now, probably mid second round because I think Kyren's a better pick than both of them at this moment. Because Gibbs also has competition with Montgomery. I don't know where people's heads are with that. Like I get he started taking reps over at the end of last year, but to me, like mid second round around the Barkley range is where I would have taken him. Because I definitely would have taken Garrett Wilson or Puka Nakua or Brandon Ayuk before taking those two guys. Like the only running
No,
back
I
I would
hear
have
you.
taken would have been like Tyren ahead of Ayuk. But
Did you want to add anything about your team and your draft, or are we good, or
um
what?
my team, I think there'd be like one or two things I'd maybe change around. Looking at it, I think maybe especially with where I got a few players in Ridley and Coleman and Myers, maybe I could have taken like James Cook instead of George Pickens. Um, I might have even been able to take like Alvin Kamara, where I took Pickens and maybe taken Joe Mixon that next round and locked down like three really good running backs. Because I think later on in the draft with Calvin Ridley and Coleman, I locked down a pretty good flex in my eyes at least. So I think maybe I could have had a stronger running back core. Because looking at it, like Elliott might not be a bad backup, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of Chandler at all. I think I could even drafted the same and maybe changed around my pick with Coleman and went with Robinson instead, or even Zach Moss, and that might have been a little bit better as well. But other than that, I think things
Yeah,
panned
I
out
think you
pretty
still.
well.
I think your pick. You still did well. So
Like it would just be like a minor tweak of drafting one more running back earlier because I think getting Tyreek, Evans, Pickens, and Ridley was like really good for me at receiver that I probably could have taken a running back instead of Coleman. Because I think even looking at Myers later down on the board, I think that might even be a better option than Coleman. Like,
no, I think you did. I think you did well. So don't second guess yourself. But again, I think this was another really good mock draft, Wigs, and stuff. So I think I hope people are getting benefit from this. I know that we've got a lot more content that's going to be coming in regards to rankings and sleepers and all that kind of stuff. So hang in there with us, guys. We're pounding out the content, and please check us out on our YouTube channel, subscribe, X, Snapchat, Instagram. Check them all out, and let and follow. Give us a follow, give us a like. Anything we appreciate. So, any final thoughts, Wigs?
I think you summed it up pretty good. I think we're good to go.
Alrighty. As always, peace out.